Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today, as usual. And yes, Bridge MCP. We have a crazy attorney general, and yes, he's going after FIEL, which is a group that help immigrants. I've done some interviews with, actually, I was on a news program with FIEL when we did a protest in the park out here in Houston. So yeah, they're after them. They're trying to take away their nonprofit status and all kinds of stuff. It's a war zone what these guys are taking. We got to take them down in this election, because if we ever give them a footing, these are some evil people. Very, very evil. Anyway, welcome aboard. Paul Fleming is in the house from Powder Springs, Georgia. We have Maywood in the house from Long Beach, California. Bridge MCP in the house from Binghamton, New York. We've got Bruce Pollard in the house from Kingwood, Texas. Lee Grant in the house from Montgomery County. And of course, the one and only AVQ, El Señor Michael Rutnin from Brooklyn, New York. We're still building up here, but I got to get started early because I got quite a bit of videos, some of them from the Netroots Nation. The first one I want to play for you, however, is the one from Tom C. Says, it's Houston hot here in Michigan, 90 plus degrees. You guys got a reprieve when you got those winds blowing off of that cool Lake Michigan. Not anymore. Kind of flipped on you, my brother. Don't worry, it's coming back pretty soon. You only have about 3 or 4 more weeks of bad weather. Anyhow, let's see. Let's go ahead and start that very first video because it's quite a bit we got. Here we go. Welcome to another edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Today we are honored to have once again, Lizz Winstead, let me tell you, you know who this woman is. She's actually the creator of what again?
The Daily Show.
The Daily Show. But she's here on a special mission. Lizz Winstead, how are you doing today? I am doing great. Now, I know you are a woman that wears 1,000 hats.
I do.
But today we're going to talk about Abortion Action Front.
Access.
I mean, forgive.
Okay.
What's wrong with me?
It's fine. We'll do
Abortion Access Front.
Yeah.
First of all, tell me a little bit about your organization.
So we are a reproductive rights organization that tries to raise awareness about what's happening with abortion access. We try to help clinics who need support. We try to help funds who are helping people access the care they need. And we try to get bad guys who are outside of the clinics or invading the clinics, bringing them to justice. So we do a whole bunch of different things. And we have an incredible podcast called Feminist Buzzkills. It's a weekly podcast that drops every Friday.
What's the name again?
Feminist Buzzkills.
There you go.
And in that podcast, we interview providers and abortion researchers and lawyers and talk about all of the big news surrounding abortion and reproductive rights right now, because it is, it's the number one issue everyone's talking about. It doesn't get enough airtime, and so we wanted to do a really deep, rich dive podcast every week into all the news surrounding it, what people can do to help, give them calls to action, etc.
I mean, that is so important. Now, we took a very huge hit with the Supreme Court taking away your rights.
Yeah.
And the reality is, as your rights are lost, mine are as well, because it takes two to tango.
That's right.
So when they think that it's just women's rights they're taking away everybody's rights.
That's exactly correct.
Tell me a little bit about that.
So, when we think about abortion access being stripped away by the Supreme Court, we think about whose humanity that also strips away, right?
Right.
It strips away the humanity of women. It strips away the humanity of anybody who can access abortion care. It strips away the humanity of like men who and women and couples who are deciding what's best for their families together. It's taking away the rights of people to have pleasurable sex. Making pregnancy be a consequence.
Right.
Is devaluing families.
Right.
It's devaluing pregnancies. It's devaluing just like sexual joy as a thing that we should all be able to have access to without government interference.
I mean, they don't belong there. And you know what? Something that a lot of people don't even think about? It's an economic issue as well.
What's so hilarious is when I hear people on the right say, people don't want to focus on abortion, they want to focus on economic issues. And I was like, find me an issue with more economic ties than deciding whether or not you are going to parent.
Mm-hmm.
When you hear, I am not a parent.
Right.
When I hear what it costs to parent, it is the number one thing people consider.
Right.
When they consider abortion, when they consider having kids, they look at their economic landscape and decide. So it is one of the number one things people think about. So to try to separate them out, it's a tactic on the conservative side because it doesn't make any sense at all.
And the funny thing about it, Liz, is guess what? Republican women, right-wing women
have
abortions too, and not only that, they have the proclivity to the same kind of behaviors that everybody has.
Yes. Exactly.
So you sit down and wonder what the hell are they really thinking about when they're doing this? Is it women's control? I've earlier told you that while everybody is gonna freak out about losing in November, I am still of the opinion that we have the pathway to a landslide. And people look at me all the time as like, are you nuts? And my thing is, I have faith in, people say, well, you have faith in women. Yes, you have faith, but it's not about women only, it's about men. It's about men who care about women, right? And when you add women plus men who care about women, I don't know, I was fairly good at math and it seemed to me like it should be a landslide.
Well, I'm hoping you are right, because I look at this landscape and it's what's at stake for the humanity of all of us.
Yes.
Is really, really great. And I think to your point, Republican women understand, the statistic is 1 in 4 women will have had an abortion during their reproductive lifetime. That just ain't Democratic, progressive. That's women,
all
right?
women.
And so I think we all just also have to fundamentally understand that if people are profoundly against abortion, they are either, if it's a woman who's profoundly against abortion, she is profoundly benefiting from white supremacy and from what patriarchy gives her.
Right.
And for men, if a woman is emancipated and controls her own fertility, that shakes the foundation of patriarchy completely.
Exactly.
And so people who don't want to share power are going to do everything in their power to make sure that there will not be new people challenging their mediocrity, asking for a different kind of structure that invites all to be involved in it, and they're doing their damnedest to make sure that all avenues to that are gone.
I don't think I've heard it said so plainly. I mean, first of all, mapping it from patriarchy to power, from power to patriarchy to control. I mean, that is what we're talking about. And I think it is so important for people to articulate that. I think it's also important for people to make it clear that this issue will actually materially affect them, because a lot of people talk about these issues in the abstract. And when you speak about these issues in the abstract, you don't necessarily feel that it affects you. And since you have an ideology, a right-wing ideology, a Republican ideology, you just give the vote. not realizing that in giving the vote, you could be harming your own personal economy.
Yeah, and you don't understand, you don't develop the compassion.
Right.
And now we've seen in Texas with like these women who had wanted pregnancies, who all of a sudden their pregnancies took a terrible turn, and they had to access abortion care and had to flee the state. You know, those women are, and then IVF, it's like you can't escape it. Your money can't escape it. You know, your privilege can't escape it. If you live in Texas and have all the money in the world, you still have to fly somewhere, go somewhere. It's affecting all of us now. And if they're saying IVF, no, like it's wild. And the double whammy of it is if you are forcing doctors to deny a care of an abortion, of a pregnancy that will possibly harm the fertility of somebody, you know, that means then if IVF is their only option, then you're stealing their ability to parent.
Yes.
Stealing it.
Yes. I mean, it is pathetic. And the thing about it, though, is, again, I think the work that you're doing with Abortion Access Front, I'm getting it right now, Abortion Access Front, I think it's so important, right? And I think the narrative also is going to be very important. I think it's going to be very important for you all to let men, to let right-wing women understand this hurts you in more ways than one. One, if we get an unwanted pregnancy and we have kids out there that weren't wanted, that also affects you. Because those are tomorrow's criminals. Those are tomorrow's welfare recipients. Those are tomorrow's, all of these things that comes from a woman, a man having a kid that they knew they couldn't afford and then have to make a ward of the state. So this doesn't only affect the people that you think it's affecting, it affects you.
Right. And conversely, if we want to talk about reproductive justice in a larger sense, and you're against abortion,
right?
There's a lot of people who would like to have those kids.
Right.
If they had programs that help them. So if we want to be a country that says that we value all pregnancy outcomes, then we should be funding programs where somebody who doesn't have a lot of means can have support for their kids, can get food, can get, our schools are good. Like, we want to create healthy families, period.
Right.
And however we can do that is what we should be striving for as a nation.
Well, you're doing important work. So before we go here, tell me a little bit about this documentary I know that you guys are working on.
Yeah, so there's a documentary that video crew has been following around the work of Abortion Access Front for the past 7 years. Following us on the road.
Everywhere you go.
Everywhere we went for 7 years. And it really is called No One Asked You. It's in the festival circuits right now. And it really shows the work that we do, traveling around the country, supporting clinics, trying to raise awareness around what's happening. And it was unbelievable that these people followed us around for 7 years. But to watch the work in action, it really shows the person watching the documentary all the ways that they can get involved.
Right.
And that's the thing I think that's important, because people were taken by surprise when Roe v. Wade was overturned. They didn't know what to do. And we are providing all kinds of avenues with which people can take action. And it helps people check in with themselves about, like, here's how much time I can give. Right. And can you put that to good use? And it's like, yes, we can. So if you do a self-check on the capacity you have to take action, we'll make sure that we put you to work.
Where is this film being shown?
So it's being shown right now in the festival circuit, which means it just got released. It's moving from festival to festival, and then hopefully it will get picked up by a distributor.
Like Netflix or one of them.
Yeah, one of those will pick it up after it goes through a series of being at the New York Film Festival. And so it's been doing all these film festivals. It's going to be in a couple. We've been to probably 25 festivals so far, and then hopefully we will land at a streaming service in early fall.
2 years ago, you were very concerned that what happened would happen. And I really didn't think the Supreme Court had the gall to do it. You were right. I couldn't believe that they did it. Now
it's the worst prediction I never wanted to be right on. That in my life.
Yeah. And the other thing is, But I do want to say that the work that you all are doing and all the people in this movement's doing, whether it be Kansas, whether it be everywhere that we put it on the ballot, you were able to prove that this isn't a Republican or Democratic issue.
Yes.
This is an issue.
It's an issue, and it's something people deeply care about. Because I think I would love people to just remember that these citizen-led ballot initiatives are exactly that.
Yes.
It wasn't politicians that created something. It
Right.
was citizens
Right.
who said, I am fed up. I'm sure a lot of them did some internal looking and saying,
Right.
I personally have had an abortion, or somebody in my life has.
Right.
And it is time that I take steps. If the government's going to do this to me and the Supreme Court's going to do this to me, then I, as a citizen, have an avenue and a path
Yes.
to access care. Now, ballot initiatives are abandoned, right? We need to
Legislation.
make sure that we have a national access to abortion, not restoring Roe.
Right.
Roe wasn't enough.
Right.
Roe got us.
Right.
We need to create legislation
Right.
that gives every single person the unfettered access to the care that they need.
And you know what? We have the right folks working on it
We do.
Lizz Winstead from Abortion Access
Branch.
See, there we go. Thank you so kindly for
Thank
talking.
you, sweetheart.
All right. Great. All right.
So good.
All right, folks. I hope you like that. Let's see. Bridge MCP said, Egberto Willis, if the right really cared about the baby, really cared, we would have parental leave. Exactly. Free diapers, milk, healthcare. Exactly. Free school breakfast. Exactly. Lunches, etc. They don't give a SHIT. It's all about control. What laws govern a man's body? None. Don't say military and look like an idiot. Exactly right. Let's see. Macaranza E22, that death toll keeps going up. Has there been even a single day where no Palestinians were lost to war, ethnic cleansing, and genocide? No. Where are the numbers? All right, let's go to E2247's numbers, and it comes out to be yesterday was day 324 of the war, 40,405 Gazans killed, 508 persons more than day 311, at least 93,468 wounded, 1316 persons more than day 311, equals 133,373 casualties. That is equal, if it were compared to America, well, he didn't put that in again. They have an estimated pop. All right. Anyway, look, folks, I mentioned this earlier on my show on KPFT. The disparity, what we've learned to do in America is we've learned to see things. We've allowed the right wing to let us see things and and cause interpretations that make no sense. 40,000 plus Palestinians dead. Gaza decimated. Building after building after building. Thousands of buildings decimated. Hundreds of thousands of people living on the streets in bad weather, in terrible conditions. 1,200 Israelis murdered. No severe damage to infrastructure. No severe damage to the way of life. One group a few miles away live in a hellhole. The other folks are living their regular lives for the most part. And still, in the eyes of Americans, somehow we believe that this is not an asymmetric war, that this is not genocide, that somehow 40,000 plus dead Palestinians is not enough for 1,300 dead Israelis. It makes you have to be mentally disturbed not to see that the fallacy of Netanyahu going after Hamas is anything but genocide. And when you use that word genocide, They want to make it seem like you're anti-Semitic. You're not. I think if more people go out there and point out, and this isn't about loving the about Palestinians, etc., etc. It isn't. It is sad. It is immoral. It is vulgar, and we will have the blood of these Palestinians on our hands. And while some may think that this protects Israel, it doesn't only put Israel in danger. It puts every single American in danger. Whether you are flying to Jamaica, Panama, Costa Rica, Colombia, these terrorists are going to go to the place of least resistance and find Americans. Wait. I travel with both passports. But I tell you, we are, you know what blowback looks like? 9/11 was blowback. I'm not defending any of these guys, but these are, well, anyway, you guys get what I'm talking about. Anyway, Michael Radden says, Egberto, when you say asymmetric war, the first thing that comes to mind is terrorism. But nearly all the people in Gaza aren't terrorists, they are victims. I am not talking about the people in asymmetric, meaning you have a militia like Hamas fighting against the IDF. Asymmetric, that's the asymmetry. It's a bunch of people with guns and small missiles against people that have the nuclear bomb. And the people that asymmetric war, if it were really asymmetric, Israel would have blown Hamas to pieces. As it turns out, what the IDF and Netanyahu is implementing is genocide by definition. Because when you have such an asymmetry, when you have all those dead Palestinians, the only other option that one can see is genocide. All right. Michael, the list is long of things to do or undo. All right, let's see. Michael Ranes says Kamala Harris is due to post her official policy platform on her website, though her policy positions are well known and pretty much all the ones you listed would get passed if we had a Democratic supermajority. We need to get rid of this supermajority thing. We need to make it. We need to blow and let's see if she's going to have the balls to tell. I guess I'll have to say, let's see if she'll have the ovaries to tell those senators it's time to undo the filibuster. All right, let's go to the second video because, like I said, there's quite a few of them. This one is Keith Ellison. Let's go ahead and play this, and then we'll take it on the other side. Welcome to another edition of Politics and Right. I'm Egberto Williams, your host. Today we are honored to have the one and only Keith Ellison, the Attorney General of Minnesota. How are you doing, Keith?
Oh man, it's a pleasure to be here with you, brother.
Let me tell you something. I am so sorry that I just missed the panel that you're on. What were the major topics that you're covering that people need to hear?
Well, it was a panel on the critical nature of racial solidarity, and Kim Crenshaw, the author of Intersectionality, an expert on critical race theory, was talking about how in the aftermath of George Floyd, where there was an outpouring of racial solidarity, then there's this backlash against diversity, equity, inclusion, against ESG, environment, sustainability, and governance, against affirmative action in general, against all types of things to make our society a more equitable, inclusive society. And there's just general backlash. In fact, in May, Trump said he thinks America's too anti-white, and he wants to make sure he stamps out that is what he thinks needs to be done to bring America together, is to make sure that he doesn't care about racism, sexism, none of that. That's his primary focus. So what that means is that he interprets DEI, trying to make America more inclusive, as somehow a threat to the majority, which of course is untrue. This is something that was said in the 1890s. Racist people then would say black people voting somehow was anti-white, integrated schools, they would say, are somehow Negro domination. This is an old trope, and people know that it's a lie. But for people who are insecure, wondering what's going to happen to them next, suspicious and doubtful of foreigners, of people of color, maybe this kind of movement can catch fire. And certainly Trump is not the first one who's tried to use racial antipathy and hostility to divide Americans and ride into political office. So that's what the panel was really all about. We had Justin Jones, who's a representative from Tennessee, brilliant young man who really stood up against gun violence. And then as the reaction was that he was thrown out of the Tennessee state legislature. Imagine that. Incredible. Only 3 people went to the well and said, this is wrong and I'm not going to stand for it. And only the 2 black ones got thrown out of the legislature.
Right.
And then he got reelected, and now he's on the move. So, and then we had Tim Wise, who is author on racism and the centrality of how racial division has really split our nation apart.
He's a bold guy in some of the topics that he covers, actually.
Your face. Yeah, well, I'm gonna tell you this. That's one way to look at it. Here's another way to look at it. When stating the obvious is considered somehow radical, then maybe the society has to look at itself, right? So Tim Wise made a number of good points. One of them, though, was that, hey, look, white people have also been part of the anti-racist movement.
Right.
We don't know who they are because history doesn't lift them up.
Right.
History doesn't lift up William Lloyd Garrison. It doesn't lift up Viola Liuzzo. It doesn't lift up Reverend Reeb. It doesn't lift up these people who fought for a multiracial society. So when we say we need to teach CRT or we need to teach racial history, a lot of white people say this is divisive because you're making white people look bad. Well, Tim's saying not necessarily. A lot of white people were against racism.
Right.
And so maybe we need to teach about who they were, what they did, and the sacrifices that they made, so that kids learning the lesson can say, no, I identify with this person who was against slavery, against Jim Crow. I identify with that person. Like Wilberforce.
Right.
Was a man who stood in the was a British political leader who was against slavery, right, and helped to bring about Britain's exodus from the Atlantic slave trade. But we don't know these people. And so he was saying, if you're feeling bad because we're talking about racism, that means you must identify with the racists, because they're not the only ones in the story, but that's the only ones you know about because you won't let us teach. So that was a very important point that he made.
You just brought an important context. That's a very important context.
Yeah, man.
Now, let me tell you, I think everybody remembered that you are the Attorney General in Minnesota. You're the person who took, I don't think there was an Attorney General who could have handled the case like you did with,
George Floyd.
George Floyd.
Well, George Floyd was murdered, May 25th, 2020, just about 4 years ago. And let me tell you, I think there's other good attorney generals who could have done a good job, but it happened in my state, so I was up to bat.
Well, I want to give you more kudos than that.
Okay.
I think the calmness with which you handled it and the straightforward with which you handled it prevented a lot of chaos that would have otherwise happened.
Well, let me tell you, Edilberto, I spent 16 years as a trial lawyer doing criminal defense.
Right.
I know the ins and outs of federal court, state court, appellate court, all courts. I did civil rights cases where I brought lawsuits against members of law enforcement who used illegal, excessive, and unreasonable force against civilians. I know what it means to do these cases. I even lost some cases.
Right.
And so, in fact, I'll tell you a story. Back in 1998, a young black man, 15 years old, was shot in the back by a Minneapolis police officer. He was unarmed. We brought a lawsuit against that officer, tried him in front of a jury, and lost.
Wow.
That happened 2 blocks away from where George Floyd was murdered.
That's new, yeah.
So here's what my point is. Yeah, I thank people for the kind words they say about me and the role I played in the George Floyd case. But I also learned the hard way. I learned the hard way. And so when this came up, I knew the press was going to try to demonize George Floyd.
Right.
I knew that we needed to pick a great jury. I knew we had to have great themes, and I knew we had to have a great team. So
That you had.
what I did is I set about using everything that I knew, all of the scars and the bumps and the bruises I acquired along the way, and I brought them to bear in this moment. And for anybody listening, I'll say, look, your moment is your number is going to get called. There's going to be a time, maybe it'll be in the public, maybe it'll be in the private, who knows, when you have to stand up and be counted. And I ask you, just remember every tough lesson you ever learned to help you rise to the occasion in that moment, because that moment's coming, because it comes for all of us.
Democracy in danger. How do we win 2024?
Well, one thing we got to do is we got to focus on what the people need. Too much focus is on, the glamour and the likability and the well-spokenness or poor-spokenness of the candidates. At the end of the day, one candidate is for promoting racism, division. One of them thinks that nonviolent, peaceful protesters are the same as the Klan and the Nazis. One of them calls countries where black and brown people come from shithole countries. One of them called for the execution of the Central Park Five. One of them was personally sued for racial discrimination in his housing. This is, as we know, is Trump. And so, and one of them has a record of supporting black causes, helping our country arise to the true meaning of liberty and justice for all. And so let's focus on that. Let's focus on who's trying to bring down inflation. Let's focus on who's trying to move our country forward in terms of a ceasefire and Middle East peace, and who said finish the job when it comes to the Middle East. So I think we're focused on the wrong things. We're focused on the likability, the glibness, the articulateness of the candidates. And these all things matter, but they don't matter more than what these candidates are going to do for your family and you. And if you're a woman and you say, well, I think Trump is so funny and so great, I'd like to be able to control my own body, but I'm going with the guy who's going to take my rights away because I happen to think that he somehow is better spoken and looks better on TV. I think that's bad decision making. And I would say that you should go for who's going to help you.
Absolutely.
Regardless of all that other superficial stuff.
Keith Ellison, Attorney General, Minnesota. Thank you so kindly, as usual,
my man,
for your prescient statements, my brother. Thank you very much.
Egberto, my man.
Right. Estamos bien, hermano.
Es un placer conocerlo.
There you go. You did it again. Anyway, folks, that is the one and only Keith Ellison. Love that guy, Attorney General of Minnesota. All right, we have another one that we have now. This one is truth telling from Ali Velshi. Let's correct the notion that somehow the Biden administration was playing games with the jobs number. Again, you know how the right loves to lie? Well, let's have a little bit of truth to that. Let's get busy. Once again, Ali Velshi shows why he's one of the best journalists on cable TV right now. And that is not only becoming an explainer in chief, but the necessary clarification of lies that we get from our former president, Donald Trump, and others. This is important because the mainstream media continues to treat Trump as someone of value or someone we should listen to, even as they somehow point out that he's generally inaccurate. Not really. He's just a thug and a liar. But again, Ali Velshi did a great thing in explaining what the Labor Department reported late last week. And that is that, in fact, the job numbers were higher than they actually were. Donald Trump, on his tweet, made believe that this is somehow a conspiracy. I want you to listen to Ali Velshi, and then we'll take it on the other side.
One of the challenges of this moment is that we're at a time where Donald Trump lies so frequently, we try not to give credence to his ridiculous claims by giving them a platform. But some of them are worth debunking, even if only so that you can quickly debunk them yourselves while in the company of those you know who believe them. And now there's this new Trumpian lie that we feel is important enough to take down because it's got the potential to catch on and purposefully mislead voters. The Labor Department issued revised job growth numbers this week showing far weaker job growth than had previously been reported for the 12-month period that ended in March. So that's the period from April 2023 through March of 2024. The revised job numbers are still preliminary. These are not the final numbers, but they show that the monthly surveys actually overstated job growth in America in 2023 by 818,000 jobs. Now, these revisions are part of a routine yearly process where monthly job estimates are reconciled with actual state records from the unemployment offices. The last time jobs were revised down by this much was in 2009, following a recession when 824,000 jobs were overstated. So to be clear, this is a normal process working correctly to give us the most accurate picture of job growth in this country. Here's the lie that Donald Trump is spewing about his this news on his social media platform, Truth Social. Quote, massive scandal. The Harris-Biden administration has been caught fraudulently manipulating job statistics to hide the true extent of economic ruin that they've inflicted upon America. New data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics shows that the administration padded the numbers, all caps, with an extra 818,000 jobs that do not exist and never did, all caps. The real numbers are much worse than that, and if Comrade Kamala gets another 4 years, millions more jobs will vanish overnight. Inflation will completely destroy our country. Your life savings will be wiped out. With the Trump victory, we will once again have the greatest economy in history, MAGA 2024, blah, blah, blah. For fact's sake, that's not how revisions work. Nothing fraudulent, no one was caught, and there's no padding of the numbers. The U.S. president cannot mess with the numbers, and none of this has anything to do with inflation or your savings. The monthly jobs numbers are always 100% of the time revised later, and in fact, it starts as early as the following month. That's just the nature of big economic measurements like GDP or job numbers. They're preliminary calculations. They are not baseball scores where you know the final number at the end of the game. The initial figures are estimates. They're always revised either up or down later when more accurate data becomes available. They cannot be fiddled with by the president ever under any circumstances. On the first Friday of each month, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, which is part of the Department of Labor, publishes a jobs report that includes the estimated total number of jobs added or lost in the United States. That monthly number is based on a survey. The Labor Department conducts a survey of employers to come up with an estimated count of how many people received a paycheck in each given month. We get estimates based on these surveys because that's the best way to gather data month by month. Think about it. Small businesses don't keep records in a way that they submit on a monthly basis. The hard numbers always take longer. That's why the revisions happen later, once a year, when a year's worth of hard data from state unemployment offices becomes available. Those numbers are reconciled with the monthly surveys to create the revised numbers. So the revised numbers we got this week, while they are not good news, are part of a normal routine yearly process that helps us get the most accurate data possible. They are not some nefarious economic plot by Democrats. They certainly aren't evidence that the monthly numbers were tampered with. And Donald Trump knows that because, again, this is how the process has always worked, just as it did in early 2019 when he was president, and the revised numbers came down by 500,000 jobs. There you go.
Let's be clear here. These are changes, as Ali said, occur all the time. In fact, under the Donald Trump administration, there was a downgrade of over 500,000 jobs. In the case of President Biden, his was over by 8,000 jobs. Well, in an economy that created 15 plus million jobs, 800,000 jobs, 1/15 of what it was supposed to be, or actually it's a bit less than that. Is it really something that should be disconcerting? I mean, it's not good news. But still, it is not what Donald Trump would like it to be. In these times, more than ever, the fourth estate, the media, it's imperative that they do their job. Unfortunately, that's not what we're finding. Even now, we continuously hear Kamala Harris has not given us her policies. Of course, she has given us a broad detail, a broad outline of what she intends to do, whether it be social programs, the military, etc. Given, again, broad outlines. I don't really hear them pestering Donald Trump as far as what will he do? What policies would he have? In fact, when they ran, he didn't even have a platform to speak of. Well, he now has a platform, Project 2025. Project 2025. That big plan written by the Heritage Foundation intend to take away our liberties and much worse. But it's important, folks. We need good journalists like Ali Velshi. We need to give these journalists that do their job the kudos that they deserve, because in our current environment, it is so damn hard to find people who would report the news as they should.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number one, subscribe to our channel. And number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.
Oh, yeah. It's interesting. First of all, Bridge, nobody ever said these guys had much upstairs. The problem is they started to believe the junk that they write and that they preach. They constantly believe that they are on the American side. What really fools them is the undemocratic nature of the Electoral College. They haven't won elections in decades, but the Electoral College make it seem like it's a 50-50 country. It's not a 50-50 country. Not even close is it a 50-50 country. But when you have a bias against the majority, with having land have more value than people, based on how the distribution of the states work, etc., that's what we get. That's why we have to overperform. So let's be clear here. There's nothing 50-50 about this country. Most of this country is progressive. The only reason it doesn't seem that way is because its Senate is grossly undemocratic. Gerrymandering has made this House grossly undemocratic, and the election of the president via the Electoral College is grossly undemocratic. That's America. So we have to work around it. And Michael Rudden is exactly right about Project 2025, how people despise it. And that's great. We have to tie Project 2025 as well as, even as the abortion argument is within Project 2025. I want us to do it in two steps. I want us to talk about Project 2025 on its own. I want us to talk about a woman's choice on its own. And I want to talk about Social Security, Medicare on its own. Because Project 2025, if we just coalesce on Project 2025 and somehow the Republicans lie Project 2025 into neutrality, that takes away our argument. But they're not going to lie Social Security and what they've done. They're not going to lie healthcare and Donald Trump saying, I want to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. They won't be able to get away from all the bills that they passed that denied poor children access to SNAP. So while all those things that I just talked about are part of Project 2025, we have to bifurcate them. Project 2025 is an all-encompassing, remove your freedom, attack on America. And these other subjects singled out, we prove them individually with what Republicans have already done. Because again, Project 2025 didn't start with, or rather, isn't just in that document. The implementation has started for several years now. The implementation of Project 2025 has been in the process for several years. I got one more thing about the blackness of Kamala Harris that I had to discuss with a person, I think it was on Friday's KPFT show. Check this out. Let's go to Jacob. Come on in, Jacob. Good morning. Talk to me.
Yes, sir. Blessings in AM. Berto, I hate to say it, Kamala, she was on a roll until yesterday.
Okay.
Yesterday, I think she's overlooking the descendants of the enslaved of America, my ancestors. When she said that America was built on immigrants, that's not a fact. And I think she disrespected my ancestors who was brought over here and for centuries and centuries built this country for free. And I understand she's an immigrant because her father's Jamaican, her mother from India. She's so black. And yesterday, when she was doing her speech, it wasn't about her father. She wasn't black. She was India. She gave it to her mother. And I understand that she feeling that's her way to victory, but she distances herself from a lot of the descendants of the enslaved of America, of United States of America. And I think that's what she fumbled yesterday. I think it's going to cost her because when she go in front of black press, that's going to be the first question. Do you understand that this is not country of immigrants? And do you understand if it wasn't for the enslaved and the civil rights movement and making these laws that immigrants, and when they made the civil rights bill, they implemented Harry Belafonte from the Bahamas, implemented the immigrants. And since then, that's when a lot of the immigrant wave took over. And a lot of the immigrants also took over our neighborhoods, supplying our stores, our this and that, when we used to have it ourselves. So I think she fumbled with that. And she's going to have to answer that. Watch Trump jump on that. To you black Americans, do you see that she included? And he going to go. She didn't went to talking about black. I'm a part of America. She really wasn't even talking about y'all. And that's too bad. She could have said, that she wanted, when she said, right before she said that, when she said that they came with a bipartisan bill that they was trying to get passed that Trump interfered with for the election, and that she could have said that we can have a way that immigrants can come into the country and also secure the border. That's it. That's what she fumbled with that one little sentence. This is the land of immigrants. No, it's not. And she really, really disrespected my ancestors. That's it.
Thank you, Jacob. I want to tackle what you just said head on with respect. What Jacob said is extraordinarily important. I watched a TikTok with a Nigerian woman stating that what a lot of people don't understand, and specifically black people, about Nigerians and Africans and West Indians. I am a West Indian. I am a Latino. I'm all these different qualifications that people talk about. And this woman on TikTok was complaining about how she was treated by American black folk. We come over here, is what she's saying. We come over here to work hard. We come over here to do X, Y, Z. And I really got upset because I am an immigrant. I am a black man. I am a Latino. I am a West Indian. I am all these characteristics. It is absolutely true what you just said, that many times it come across as disrespectful when somebody of any other descent, albeit a black person, come over here and somehow give the impression or demean American black folk. But I did a stitch onto her TikTok. And I said, lady, everything that you said is true. But the people, the black folk or Latino folk or others that come over here as immigrants from other countries, most of the times, they are the ones in their own countries that had the mobility to come over here. Do not try to make that comparison or disparage those that are already here, because these are the folks who paid the price to open the door for you to make it here. Okay, the problem is this. Capitalist America, and I'm not talking about has made a calculated effort to select black and others that come over here after slavery. Because don't forget, Kamala's mother was also a slave. They didn't call it a slave under the British Empire, but effectively, Indians were a part of the British Empire as well, no more so than a slave. My ancestors in the Caribbean, okay, were effectively slaves. My Panamanian compatriots were effectively slaves. We all have the same lineage. Most of us on this hemisphere all came from West Africa. I'm not done, because we have to understand what is done here often. Then many times the masters that be, meaning the plutocrats, the capitalists, create not only interracial dissension, but also interracial dissension. That means telling me, this Panamanian black dude, that there's some difference between me, this Panamanian black dude, and you American black dude. There ain't no difference. There may be some. I may eat carimañolas con frijoles y some patacones, and then I come over to your home and have some chitlins. Let me tell you something, my friend. Let me tell you something, because this is important. That rubbed you wrong what Kamala Harris did yesterday in not stressing her blackness. What I call that is extraordinarily smart, because, and this is something that I want you to go out there and promote as well. She doesn't need to say anything about her blackness, because every single American sees that she's an AKA. Every single American know that she went to Howard University, where my daughter finished her med school. That goes without question. Maybe Trump will try to come in and create dissension among people of color, because what she did is came out with neutrality. What she did is she said America is a country of immigrants. Yeah, black folks ain't immigrants in America. They were slaves. I, as an immigrant, wasn't an immigrant in this hemisphere, but a slave. But in a tactical condition where you don't control the media, what Kamala did yesterday was smart. And I hope after you've heard what I've said, you would digest some of it. And when you hear your compatriots and friends talk about it, do the same. Anything else, Jacob, before I jump to Harry?
Yes, sir. Real quick. In the so-called, we get that's English. It came from England. And that Spanish you speak come from Spain, from Europe. I'm from the chosen people of that book. I'm the true Israelite. So, all right. You bet to your friends. But I respect you and I like your show, man.
Thank you, my brother.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number one, subscribe to our channel. And number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.
Let's go to Jacob. Come on in, Jacob. Good morning. Talk to me.
Yes, sir. Blessings and AM. Berto, I hate to say it, Kamala, she was on a roll until yesterday.
Okay.
Yesterday, I think she's overlooking the descendants of the enslaved of America. My ancestors. When she said that America was built on immigrants, that's not a fact. And I think she disrespected my ancestors who was brought over here and for centuries and centuries built this country for free. And I understand she's an immigrant because her father's Jamaican, her mother from India. She's so black. And yesterday, when she was doing her speech, it wasn't about her father. She wasn't black. She was India. She gave it to her mother. And I understand that she feeling that's her way to victory, but she distances herself from a lot of the descendants of the enslaved of America, of United States of America. And I think that's what she fumbled yesterday. I think it's going to cost her, because when she go in front of black press, that's going to be the first question. Do you understand that this is not country of immigrants? And do you understand if it wasn't for the enslaved and the civil rights movement and making these laws that immigrants, and when they made the civil rights bill, they implemented, Harry Belafonte from the Bahamas implemented the immigrants. And since then, that's when a lot of the immigrant wave took over. And a lot of the immigrants also took over our neighborhoods, supplying our stores, our this and that, when we used to have it ourselves. So I think she fumbled with that, and she's going to have to answer that. Watch Trump jump on that. To you black Americans, do you see that she included? And he going to go. She then went to talking about black. I'm a part of America. She really wasn't even talking about y'all. And that's too bad. She could have said, that she wanted, when she said, right before she said that, when she said that they came with a bipartisan bill that they was trying to get passed, that Trump interfered with for the election, and that she could have said that we can have a way that immigrants can come into the country and also secure the border. That's it. That's what she fumbled with, that one little sentence. This is the land of immigrants. No, it's not. And she really, really disrespected my ancestors. That's it.
Thank you. Hey guys, sorry about that. I had to do a quick step out, and I didn't get back in time. Oh my God. Anyway, folks, we are at the end of the program. Great to see everybody in the house. Sorry to have to put you through that twice, but let me just tell you, that is a more important call. One of the reasons I play that call is that is a very important call, because there is some stuff going around in the media, not only in black media. As he called it in today again, and he was repeating some items that what happens is there are a lot of memes that are going out there. There are a lot of other issues out there that this has to be handled head on, because it's some convincing stuff out there in the memes that are trying to convince black people, that are trying to convince women using some very interesting techniques. So what I do when I have people calling in here that I'm sure they've seen certain things and heard certain things is to handle it right away. Anyhow, folks, let's see. Please go ahead and support the program. I got to get out of here. How can you support the program? I'd like to ask you all to become paid members of our newsletter. And how do you do that? You become a paid member of our newsletter by going to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. All right, folks, got to get out of here. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right, and you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out. Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.